Today I'm sharing the Truth Chronicles series. Hi, welcome back to Candlewick Library. I'm Cheryl, and today I'm doing a series spotlight. I haven't done a series spotlight before, but I realized after making the video of the read-alouds that have been our favorite ones up until this point, that I had left off a very important series. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about these books and how we found them. In May of 2022, I was going through my kind of faith transition out of the Mormon church, and I was pretty confused about a lot of things. And I had found from a couple of the Christian people that I followed, I had heard about the Ark encounter in Kentucky. And I had watched a few things from Ken Ham, and I was just very intrigued by the whole idea, and I really wanted to visit the Ark. So I planned a road trip visiting the Ark encounter in the Creation Museum, but then also doing a few other things along the way between Utah and Kentucky and on our way back. It turned out to be a really great trip because we went to LDS church sites as well, and I was able to compare the things I felt and the things I learned at each different place with the things I felt and learned at the Ark Encounter and the Creation Museum, especially the Creation Museum. Maybe one of these days I'll tell my full story on here, but that little bit of background information is kind of why we went to the Ark. So we spent a day at the Ark Encounter, and then we spent a day at the Creation Museum, and we all just loved the Creation Museum. While at the Creation Museum, we went to a presentation put on by Tim Chaffee. He was talking about dinosaurs and the Bible and things like that. It was an amazing presentation, and my kids loved it. They loved him. They thought it was so much fun. It was kind of a long presentation. They learned a lot, but they were so thoroughly entertained the whole time that it went by so fast for them, and they could have sat there for longer. Afterward, we were in one of the bookshops there, and I found this series of books, the Truth Chronicles, that were written by Tim Chaffee and Joe Westbrook. And so, I realized, this is the guy we just listened to, and he's written these books. And you can see that the characters are drawn in kind of an anime style, and they have little chibi forms on the back. So throughout the whole book, there are pictures like that. They're all in the anime style. So my daughters really love Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! And Beyblade, and this is the kind of art that they draw. And so they immediately were taken in of like, okay, this kind of looks like a manga, but it's not a manga. It's just a regular book. And so I read the back, and it says, "What would you do if you could travel through time? When 4 unsuspecting teens from the world's top science academy attempt a trip to ancient Egypt, they dive into an adventure beyond their wildest imagination. Jax and Izzy expect pyramids and pharaohs, but come face to face with some of the deadliest creatures to ever walk the earth. Can JT and Mickey get there before it's too late? And what will happen when they are confronted with the true history of the world?" So when we saw these, we were all intrigued by it, and I thought they would probably be pretty good. And I kind of read through the first couple of pages, and I thought it sounded pretty good. But I thought, well, I don't want to spend the money to buy the whole entire set if we don't know whether we like the first book or not. So I bought this first book, and then on our way home, I started reading it just by myself. And when I finished it, I knew it was something my girls would like. So I immediately went on and bought the box set of all the rest of them. So 1, The Time Machine. Book 2, The Contest. Book 3, The Rescue. Book 4, The Thief. Book 5, The Chase. Book 6, The Ark. Book 7, The Accident. Book 8, The Attack. Book 9, The Tower. And then book 10 is the extras. It has a study guide. It talks about how these kids met each other. It has the original character bios and concept art and fun facts about the series. So this isn't part of the whole storyline. But it's got the illustrations, like on the back, the little chibis are just so cute. You can see all of that. And then the first 6 books were all written by Tim Chaffee and Joe Westbrook. But after that, it was just Tim Chaffee writing by himself. So again, you can see those. They're so cute. But they really enjoyed the art of it, but they also really enjoyed the stories. If you are not a young earth creationist Christian, you're not going to enjoy these books. If you follow Ken Ham, if you follow Answers in Genesis, these definitely have that worldview to them. if you have that worldview and you have kids that are anywhere from middle grade to young adult, I think that they will really enjoy them. Both of my daughters loved them. They loved the stories, they loved the characters, they loved the art, they loved everything about these. That was why I was so surprised I forgot to talk about them on that video, because they have definitely stood out as a favorite to both my daughters. So all of these kids share something in common. They all are very smart and they all love science. So they go to the special science school. 2 of the 4 are Christian. One of them is not really a passionate Christian and one of them is. Throughout the book, all of the 4 kids do become Christian. One of the things my oldest daughter really loved is that she wishes she had this kind of group of friends, which is sad, but it kind of gave her that feeling of having that and being able to, I guess, feel like it was a possible thing. She's had a hard couple of years in being able to find friends, because a few years ago, her and her best friend kind of went different ways. They had different attitudes and different, I guess, values. She didn't like the way her friend would treat my younger daughter when she would be over at our house, things like that. And so they kind of grew apart. So then in 2020, we moved to a different town and everything was closed. All the churches were closed. There wasn't any homeschool groups going on, even if we could find one that was for our kids' age. Here in Utah, homeschooling is definitely growing, but when we started, it just felt like we could hardly find anyone that homeschooled. We actually got treated a little bit badly in our old neighborhood for being homeschoolers. And then when I could find homeschool groups, they were almost always little kids. It was never groups of kids that were my children's ages. And so that was kind of hard because we just really couldn't find any co-ops or groups or anything. So the only place for them to really find kids their own age was at church. But churches were closed. And then, right when the churches were starting to open again here, that is when we left the Mormon church. So we weren't going there anymore. So we have found a few churches within a little ways of our house, and none of the ones that we've gone to that we really feel are strong churches have any teenagers. And so we had a couple that we've gone to that had youth groups, but they're all over an hour away. Well, obviously that is something I'd be willing to do if we need to do it. Both of my daughters say that they prefer the smaller church that's close, that doesn't have any kids over probably the age of 7 or 8. So that's been kind of a hard thing the last couple of years, of her trying to find friends, trying to go to things, but we really don't have a system here in our area of Utah. We haven't found a real community for kids their ages. And above that, she really wants to find friends, a friend group like this. She really wants to find a friend group that has the same values as her. But she also wants to find ones that have the same interests, like how these kids are all interested in science. Now, these ones didn't all have the same values at the beginning. They did later. But that's been really hard too, because as a 17-year-old girl, she's not really interested in fashion or makeup or any of the things that are maybe more typical for that age group. Like I said, loves Pokemon, Beyblade, Yu-Gi-Oh! She loves playing video games, like the Pokemon video games and the Legend of Zelda, things like that. And she loves Japan. She's been teaching herself Japanese now for a few years. She's almost fluent in it. And so she really wants to find somebody that shares her values and her worldview and also is interested in one of those things. And we just haven't been able to find that. And so she loved seeing this friendship group in these books and kind of hoping that sometime she would be able to find something like this. And so I think that that's a really positive of the book, is showing these kids that even though they do believe differently at the beginning, are able to really respect each other and come together on certain things. There's also a few hard things in the book that it addresses: abuse with one of the kids and death of a family member with one of the kids, dishonesty. There are people that go out on church missions that are in danger and captured. I think they're really good. So again, I think if you have any kids that love this art style and have this kind of worldview and are interested in this kind of thing, that they would really enjoy it. If they're interested in science, but also have a creationist worldview, I think that they would really enjoy it. So I just wanted to make up for my mistake in not including these in the favorite read alouds video and let you guys know about the series, because I had never heard of it. I don't know if I would have heard about it had it not been for going to the Creation Museum. Let me know if you've read these, or if you're interested in reading these, or if you know anything similar to them.